So today we got 2 control points. We're gonna set this first scan up and then scan the rest of these bangets, make sure they're in the right spot. Compare it to the model. You can see we've got a couple layout points, but I'll turn the model on here in a bit. It's gonna let it scan first and then point the laser to this, use that scan to point the lasers to the control points. Hey, Steve Ostrowski with Trimble and the Building Point teams. Today's FieldLink tips video is going to show you how to adjust a resection or setup scan in the elevation. So what can happen is, as you're shooting your checkerboard targets or really any control that's given to you, you want to make sure that you have the correct elevation. But sometimes it's easy to forget, and in this case I did. So we're going to show you how to fix for the elevation, but keep the correct XY. The X7, X9, and FieldLink are really the only scanning solution on the market to allow you to register, refine, and georeference in the field. This is going to be the more accurate way to resection or set up your scanners just like you would a total station, but you can also do the manual way to pull it, which we've shown in a couple other videos, as well as just a traditional georeferencing or getting 3 or more points and 3 or more coordinates to align it back in the office. Again, here you can see the actual layout points, the model, the DWG is below that, and then we even have the 3D model that we'll show you in a different video. The X7, X9 will self-calibrate for the first couple scans until temperature is reached. So that takes about 30 seconds, and then it will self-level. It's the only hardware on the market that will self-level to 3 seconds, which means it's usable for all flatness verification or verticality or even ramp checks. So here you can see past 50%, the scan is done. We'll do a medium level scan for that first setup scan just to make sure we have good coverage and accuracy going forward. And then once I'm done with that, and the reason why we actually paused and moved the scanner there is because I'm going to use the image from the scan to point the laser pointer. So you can see the other guys laying out with some Trimble on the deck. We're just in the way. They're doing some real work, so I wanted to make sure that we just paused it, moved it, and then rescanned. Here you can see I'm actually looking at those tilting targets. I generally suggest at 2 of those tilting targets to make this workflow very easy and quick. Use the camera to turn, point the laser to it, and then take a shot. So after pointing to and measuring the first point, we'll point to the second and measure that as well too. You can see it takes about 20 seconds for each discrete or single point measurement to take place. Again, like with most resections, suggested to do 3 unless you know the control points are good or not based off a 1 column line. So moving to the second, you can see here, we find that and shoot it, and then we'll be waiting for our residuals to come back in. You will see that the northings and eastings are very tight within a 1/8 or 1/16th, meaning everything on deck should be able to be checked out very well there. But the Z is off because we didn't correct the control points for elevation. So to do that, we'll show you here by essentially accepting where the placement of that scan is, and then going through a little bit of a workflow. So here's a little bit of that workflow. As you can see, if we move this around, layout points are sitting high. This is actually that tilting target where it was resectioned incorrectly versus where it should be. So what we can do is export just a TZF of that scan. What that'll do is actually save its location, and then we're just going to re-import it. Grabbing it and importing it, not auto-registering it, so we can keep the correct XY. Then once it's in, what we can do is just go to register. And the really nice thing, especially with the latest release of FieldLink, is the ability to use this section box to then align this up. So what I'll do here is essentially just make a section box around this area, drag the scan over, and then move it up. So here I'm just grabbing it by the blue arrow and aligning this to the middle there roughly. And then after I move out, I'll go back in and check the elevation one more time. So should have one registered here. Again, it won't have a resection on there. Quickly hit the generate HD image so that when I'm hitting the midpoint of that, it'll line up. So, or it'll be exactly the midpoint of this tilting target, which is 5 and 11/16. If I look at the control point here, I can turn it back on 5.5. So I set about a quarter inch high. I'll come back here one more time, bring this over the tilting or the center of rotation and move it down just a little bit, and then just essentially just continue to recheck it until the elevation matches. The same thing as like using the laser to hit a reference elevation, or even using essentially using anything with no control check to do that. So this is about half, and I'd be happy with that, and assume it's the same accuracy as pointing the laser to it as well too, and I can check some other things. So now that the first scan is essentially in the same correct XY and correct Z, XY to 16th and Z to just about perfect as well, I can register other scans to them, bring those in as well, and make sure that they're good. I can do this essentially in the field or afterwards. It's pretty easy to do it either or, just depending on what the workflow and what I actually need to check there. But as I'm going through here and scanning, I can actually see with the scan data, if I bring this down a little bit, compared to the DWG or any IFC or model file, I can actually see the bangets in the correct location compared to the model, as well as where they actually fall out or may have been kicked. So there's your FieldLink tip of the day: how to fix for incorrect elevation and moving that scan around. Thanks, and please reach out to your nearest building point partner with any additional questions.